Welcome to Circle City Conversations, where the heart of Indianapolis comes alive through the stories of its people. Join us as we explore our city, one insightful conversation at a time.
Hurst Limontes here, lawyer and host of this show, where I sit down with other attorneys, doctors, professionals, bar association leaders, and clients to talk about the intricacies of personal injury litigation and litigating cases in general in Indiana. This episode is brought to you by Hurst Limontes, a personal injury law firm based in Indiana. Founded in 1981, it's one of the few firms who focused exclusively on representing the victims of negligence and their families. With more than 116 years of combined experience among our lawyers, you can trust us to handle your case with valuable and extensive expertise. We have the knowledge to handle any case, from an automobile accident to construction site accidents, slip and falls, and everything in between. We have the experience and the resources to deal with the insurance companies. No matter how complex the case or how significant the injury is, we aim to make the process as stress-free as possible for all of our clients. Our attorneys have represented thousands of injured clients and their families, obtained hundreds of millions of dollars in settlements and verdicts. If you or a family member have been a personal injury victim in Indiana, contact our dedicated team of personal injury lawyers. We can be found at hurstlimontes.com or call us at 317-636-0808. I have Chad here of Rise 25, who has done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs. And we've flipped the script, and he will be interviewing me. Chad, welcome to the show.
Hey, Alex, thanks so much. Great to be here. This is kind of your introductory episode, your first episode. So it'll be great to kind of get to know you a little bit more during this episode. And I'd like to start out by finding out how and when did you know that you wanted to be an attorney?
Well, when I was I went to a small school in southern Indiana called Hanover College, and I played football down there. And when I first started in college, I really wanted to be an engineer, and that was going to be my focus. So then I took a calculus course in college, and I realized quickly that I would make a horrible engineer. So for a couple of years there, just tried to kind of try different things. And then my senior year in college, I did an internship in Washington, D.C., and I was gone for the whole semester. And actually, interesting story, kind of wild. I was there when the sniper was there. Yeah. So we were had to close our windows and draw blinds and everything. But anyways, I was there, and I worked for a corporation counsel which defended the district in civil lawsuits. And I worked with a great lawyer. His name's Bob DeBerardinis, and I was able to see trials, see the process, see kind of how the sausage was made, from beginning to end. I was kind of drawn to it, and I thought it would be a really great opportunity for me to, go to law school. So during that time period, it was my senior year in college. I'd graduated, but I'd always wanted to do social work. And so I took a year off based on a lot of advice from other lawyers between undergrad and law school. And I was a social worker, which was pretty eye-opening experience. I did that down in Central Florida and Orlando area. And then I went to law school. After that, I think it was 23 years old. I started law school, but that 1 year, taking that 1 year off was really, I think, essential for me to help prepare myself moving forward, because once you go to law school, you either decide to be a lawyer or you can do something else, but choosing this profession is not just a job,
So as you kind of were in the course of that internship and you saw, as you said, how the sausage is made, what were some of the things that really stood out to you? Were like, yeah, this is what I could see myself doing?
The detail orientation I thought was interesting. The difference in fact patterns and situations. You could have one situation where, let's say someone was injured or hurt, and then another situation where a contractor didn't finish working on a government building, and so there's a dispute there, I thought I love the variety. I thought that was so cool, and then being able to take these different fact patterns and look at the law and be able to apply them to the law, and then make your point and make your argument. There's always two sides. So I thought that was really.
So you where did you go to law school, and then how did you kind of get rolling in the legal industry? How'd you get started?
Sure. I went to law school in downtown Indianapolis. It was at the IUPUI campus, which is Indiana University, Purdue University in Indianapolis. There's a combined campus with both schools. So the law school is called, I think it was called McKinney now, but they're changing the name back to IU Indianapolis. And I really wanted to go to school in Indianapolis because knowing myself and how I am, I get more from practical experience. And there was being in a bigger metropolitan area, there was more opportunities, to gain that practical experience. So I went to law school, downtown, graduated in 2007. And it was funny, when I was in law school, you have to take certain required courses, and I took criminal law. And I decided at that point, I said, Alex, you're never going to be a criminal defense attorney, and you're never going to be a trial lawyer. And I wanted to do like international business, fly around the world, negotiate multi-billion-dollar deals, things like that. And my first job out of law school was at the Public Defender Agency in Indianapolis, trying cases as a criminal defense attorney. So, yeah. And I love it. I love being in the courtroom. I took to it like a duck to water. I never thought I would. But I did, and and it was natural for me. And I really enjoyed the adversarial kind of aspect of it as well. I think I mentioned to you, I went to Hanover. I played football in Hanover. I love football. I love sports. I've always been competitive. I think that's part of being a trial lawyer. You kind of have to be a little bit competitive. And so I really enjoyed that aspect, and then being able to bring in those facts, those details, and argue my points. And that's why I kind of stuck with doing trial work, with the Public Defender Agency. Yeah.
What is the key to success? Is it the preparation? Is that the key to success in trial work?
Yeah. I mean, there's some luck, obviously, and the luck comes with your jury, because that's really the key. With what I do, or even criminal work, you never know what kind of jurors you're going to get. And you could get jurors that, don't want to give people any money for personal injury, and then you could get jurors that feel so bad and they want to give them the world, so that's really, can be a little bit, there's an issue there, obviously, with some luck. Maybe sometimes you get some good people, but with regards, and there's also skill involved with that too, trying to pick, the right jurors and draw out any possible biases that they may have. Everyone has inherent biases. Some people are just better fit for certain types of cases. So I'll give you an example. I told you I was a public defender, and I did that for a couple of years, and I worked my way up. In the Public Defender Agency, you start at misdemeanor level, and then you work your way up. And I had an opportunity to work on a major felony case, basically a rape. And after I talked to the individual, the person that was being accused of the crimes, I immediately said that I just couldn't do this anymore. So I knew that I didn't have the stomach to deal with that. I didn't even have any kids at the time. I just knew that I could not be the best lawyer for this individual. And there are other fantastic lawyers that would do a way better job than I would have representing that individual. So I immediately, at that point, I resigned and I started my own practice. I was 28 years old. I did some family law work. I did criminal law work. I did some small business stuff. I did a little bit of everything. And I had a contract where I was doing chins work. In Indiana, chins work is where the children are separated from the family. So my clients were the parents, and I was trying to help do family reunification, which was interesting because that's what I did as a social worker. back in Florida years before. It was family reunification. So I was doing those cases for about a year. And then my old boss, essentially, Bill Hurst, who's my partner now, called me out of the blue. And he was like, hey, I'm getting more cases. I need someone to come work with me. We chatted for a little bit. I went over there, talked to him for a little bit, started there in 2011, I think, back there actually, because I was a law clerk there when I was in law school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you talked about kind of you didn't want to be a trial lawyer, and then all of a sudden you're a trial lawyer, and now you really enjoy it. Tell me about your first trial, and what was it like to go in there and like be in front of a real judge and go against maybe an attorney who was already seasoned.
So I can't remember her name. She was a really sweet woman. I thought was sweet. Anyways, she was accused of disorderly conduct and resisting law enforcement. And she'd never been accused of a crime ever or arrested. And she wanted to go try the case, and we ended up trying the case. And in that case, the prosecutor, who's a friend of mine now, he was asking her question. The other prosecutor actually was a classmate from law school. He was asking the defendant questions, and she goes, in open court in front of the jury, she goes, "You're a real freaking a-hole, aren't you?" Yeah, but not freaking a-hole like the other version, Mm-hmm. So to him in front of the jury. And I begged her, because I knew that she was, she had her opinions about the case. And I said, you really shouldn't testify. We've got testimony from your daughter. I think we can get a not guilty on this. And she insisted on testifying. And that was the first thing she said. It was like, I tell people it was like watching the Hindenburg go down. You know what I'm talking about? It was I saw my case just go up in flames. And I was like, oh no. Now we did get a not guilty on one count, but a guilty on the other count. But that was my first experience. And I had been a lawyer for 2 months. So when you're a public defender, you get thrown into it. You have to use trial by fire.
So what was your kind of, were you, I don't know, intimidated? Were you nervous? Were you just really well prepared? So you were ready? What was your kind of emotions, I guess, your state going in?
I think I was over prepared. Mm-hmm. Certainly I'd even done mock arguments and things. As a public defender, you don't make much money. So you don't do it to make money, so you work those long nights, before, and you're not getting paid extra for it, Mm-hmm. So I did it because I wanted to win the case, so I was very well prepared. I was nervous. You're always nervous. And any trial lawyer that tells you they're not nervous before is bullshitting you. It's not true. Everyone is nervous, because you don't know what a jury's going to do. No one ever knows, because in a civil case, you get 6 different jurors every time, 6 different people. I think that there's a lot of that, but the preparation, really, for a trial lawyer, at least, the preparation allows you to overcome a lot of those things, a lot of that self-doubt that you may have, and in my industry, the insurance companies, they feed off that self-doubt. Because they know that if the lawyer's like, oh, I could maybe lose this case, and, I'll put all this time and effort into this, and when I could take the settlement now, tell my client to take the settlement now, most that can be beneficial for a lot of insurance companies to save money on that. So, but yeah, anxious, nervous, all the feelings, right?
Yeah, sure. I bet.
Yeah.
So, you talked about how you went to about how Bill Hurst called you to come and work there. Tell me about how it eventually became Hurst Limontes.
Sure. Bill Hurst had a couple partners that did a lot of business litigation, contract, some high value asset divorces, and they were all, a lot of them were older. And so they did a completely different area of law than what we did. So, and they were in the same building. And I worked with Bill from 2011 to 2015. And then eventually that was the prior law firm of Mitchell, Hurst, Dick, and McNeilis split off. And Mitchell, McNeilis, and Richard Dick, they all went to a different location. And we started an exclusively personal injury law firm. That was in 2015, the law office of William W. Hurst. Excuse me. And during that time period, we had some high dollar cases, big, multi-million dollar settlements. We worked the cases up. The insurance companies knew us, the lawyers knew us. They knew that we would go try the case if we couldn't get a reasonable value out of it. So we had a few good years there, 2015. And then in 2019, I took over as owner of the firm. And, my partner, Bill Hurst, he then kind of semi-retired, and I started managing the firm and running the operations of the firm. And I took over and it was the law office of William W. Hurst at the time. And then knowing that within a year or so, I would eventually change the name, and rebrand. And we did that February of 2020, the month before COVID hit.
Oh, wow. So we'll get into that in just a second, but tell me, you had run your own firm prior. You talked about how you started one in your 20s. How challenging is it for an attorney who's, a confident lawyer, capable, legal expert to kind of run your own business? Tell me about kind of the adjustment as far as running your own firm as a business.
Well, I think that's always a struggle, Chad, all the time with us, because we're not business people. We're lawyers. We went to law school. You go to law school for 3 years. Some people say they teach you how to think differently, there's a lot of truth to that. You just see things different. When you look at a situation or a problem, first, especially for a lot of lawyers, we're fixers. So we automatically go into fixing mode, how to fix. It drives my wife nuts. She's like, stop trying to fix everything. So yeah, going back to your question, it is very difficult for lawyers to try to get away from being lawyers and focus on the business aspect. I think that as a solo nowadays, especially even when I was, back in 07, when I was, or 08, I think when I was a solo, there was CRM software like Clio had just come out. I was using them, and they can give clients the ability to log in and look at their file and see what's going on, because that's really the main issue as a true solo or someone in, let's say, an association with other solo lawyers. Where you have to wear all these hats, you just don't have enough time. And that's all we have as lawyers is our time. We don't sell widgets. We don't sell anything. It's our time. So if we spend an hour, trying to deal with a broken fax machine or something, that's an hour we can't dedicate to our clients, And so I think that that's a constant struggle with lawyers and law firms. And you're starting to see a lot of these kind of EOS kind of concepts being applied to the legal industry, which is always slow to make change, because we're lawyers and we're very traditional. But you're starting to see these concepts applied, and people are bringing in people like COOs to run firms, because a lawyer's time is better spent working on the cases.
When you were running your own firm, what was the first thing that you realized you needed to do? Like, maybe I need to bring in a COO, or I need an assistant, or I need something else.
I was spending a lot of time doing minor research work, especially in the family law arena, because I didn't have a tremendous amount of expertise there. And, even the legal research software, as a 20-something-year-old kid who's barely, making enough money to, pay the rent, that some of those software companies charge, $400 or $500 a month is a lot of money, so I actually hired a clerk, and he's a lawyer now, Adam Lutsky, great guy. I know his sister. He worked for me for a little bit, did some clerk stuff, helped me with a lot of research so I could focus on the business end. Back then I was keeping track of my time, my hourly time, and put into cases. So that was always a big, you probably talk to lawyers that tell you how that takes up a lot of their time to just keep track of that. Yeah.
You mentioned running Hurst Limontes during COVID, like basically it became Hurst Limontes right before COVID. Tell me about how COVID affected the firm and maybe even changed it.
Sure. I think it, it made us more agile. We were forced to become that way. As a trial lawyer, you have to be agile. You have to be able to think quickly on your feet and move. even physically move, in a courtroom. I mean, but it made us more agile. And we were running software from CRM software from the 90s that we were forced to make changes, accounting software that we were forced to make some changes. I had some staff that didn't have the right kind of hardware at home, computer, to be able to properly log in and do all of their work, that they needed to. So I remember right when COVID first hit, I was driving around the central Indiana, dropping off laptops and computers to people, just so that they could log in and get their work done, So yeah, it really forced us to, I was one of the few lawyers that worked a lot from home, especially on the weekends, at night. I have children, so when they go to bed, it's always good. And it kind of put us in a position where, now we are all capable of doing that if need be. And we can pivot now quickly if we need to. And it makes us more mobile too. For example, I had to go argue a hearing down in Union County, which is out in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. Beautiful courthouse, and I was completely had everything with me. So I had to look up a couple of pieces of evidence to argue to the judge, and I had my printer and everything. I printed it off right there, handing it to him. I mean, it makes us more, like I said, more agile, more mobile, and really allows us to respond to our clients' needs quickly.
If somebody is hurt in an accident or in anything and is looking to be compensated by an insurance company, is it a mistake not to contact an attorney?
So this is, oh my, how much time do we have, Chad? So this is always a big, I wouldn't say it's a mistake. It's a situation where if you feel you're being treated fairly, then you don't need one. For example, if you just go to the emergency room once because, your neck was sore, and then you feel fine after a few days, which happens a lot. The doctors will say, listen, if you don't feel good, here's a 400 milligram ibuprofen, take it a couple days. If you don't feel good, then go call your primary care. I mean, just the other week, I threw my back out and I took some medication. I felt fine, mm-hmm. and if you're in a situation like that, you probably don't need a lawyer. Okay. Mm-hmm. However, statistically, in most cases, lawyers, we can get you more money. And I hate to bring it back to that, but the reality is, Chad, that's all I can do. That's like the worst part of sometimes trying to explain to my clients, like, this is all I can do. You lost your baby. I've got cases where a baby was killed. You lost your baby. All I can do is get you money. By the way, the insurance company is devaluing the baby because they do. They put less value on a death case than they would a permanent injury case. They are, I don't want to say they're robots, but they've everything has become so systemized for them. It's, they plug all these numbers in, and that's what those are the numbers they've got, So, having that, it's almost like I feel like a bridge sometimes, trying to bring my clients there and then the insurance company there, because there is a value. At the end of the day, someone's going to put value on that case. And, for me, if I lost a child, the value is priceless. There's no amount of money, that would ever make up for that. But at the end of the day, part of what we have to do is try to explain that to our clients. We look at cases, statistics and stuff like that, but going back to your original question, there is one thing, there is a big distinction that a lot of folks don't really know. There's a difference between a really good marketing lawyer and a really good lawyer. Do you know what I mean? So there are really good marketing lawyers that go out there and spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on billboards, and commercials and buses and all of that stuff, and frankly, when you look at the fee structure for a lot of those lawyers, they pass those costs onto their clients. In most cases, whereas we don't do that. We have a static fee. Our fee never changes. And we guarantee all of our clients that if we settle the case, then the attorney fee will never exceed what they get in their own pocket. And we can do a lot of good for the clients, when it comes to the money, because going back to the original concept is it's a poor substitute. It really is, but it's all we've got, And if I can go to my client and say, listen, this is how I can put the most money in your pocket right now, and it's guaranteed, I feel good about myself and like I've done my job and treated them fairly and explained the process to them. Most of them, sometimes you don't even talk to a lawyer at one of those big advertising firms. If you call our office, you get some basic information to an intake person and you are immediately sent over to a lawyer who will talk to you. And that lawyer may spend 15, 20 minutes telling you that, there's nothing we can do, but call this other person. Or they may spend 5 minutes and set an appointment, have you come in. And then next thing you know, we're off to the insurance company races.
As I mentioned, this is your episode of your podcast. Tell me a little bit about why you're starting it and what it's going to be about.
Sure. Well, I will say that, kind of going back to what I said before, that there's good marketing lawyers and then there's good lawyers. And I think that the marketing lawyers can overshadow the really good lawyers just because of the amount of money that they have in certain advertising campaigns, So part of what I want to do is get the message out there that it's not just, those billboard people. There's a massive group of the rest of us, and then also I want to help, hopefully the folks that are listening, help educate them a little bit, maybe have some fun, while we're doing it, so that they can learn a little bit more, not just about, the personal injury cases and, insurance and things like that, but other types of areas of law. And also, hopefully, we talked to some really great, successful business people here in Indianapolis, and they can hear, our audience can hear, what it's like to work in that business, and all of the folks that I plan on talking to are good acquaintances, people that I know, very successful people with families, people that we can all relate to, right? We can all relate to having a long day at work and then coming home and having, to do math homework for a couple hours,
Yeah.
Right? So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, last question for you. What do you enjoy most about
the people? My favorite moment is when I can go to my client and tell them, I have an option for you. It's a good option, if it's and then tell them why. It's because, going back to the original concept, money is a poor substitute. It's apples to oranges, but it's not about the money or even the amount of money. It's about taking that weight kind of off their shoulders, right? And not just that, but they are validated because they were heard. You can see it in their eyes. They're like, thank you. Someone heard me. Thank you so much. And I was there, Sometimes they're bullhorns, sometimes not, but that was me. That was something that I was able to do for them. And that really is the best part about what I do. There are, and we'll talk about it on the show later on, there's so many areas of law, and I practice, in a few of them. There's so many areas where people just leave pissed and angry, both people, both parties, all three, four, however many, and for me to be able to give that, even that brief moment of joy to my clients, that really is really what keeps me going, keeps me going.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks so much for having me today. Congratulations on your first episode, and I'll look forward to hearing some future episodes.
Great. Thanks, Chet.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Circle City Conversations podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more future conversations.